Hello YouTube, it's me vDEOGAMER, and today I'm going to be drawing Zekrom and Reshiram, both in the same picture. Well first, I've already got an idea of what I want the characters to look like and where I want them to be standing. So I'm just going to start off by putting that idea down just as a simple sketch. Nothing too definite at first. Make sure you're doing it very lightly. So first I'm going to start out with Zekrom, because quite honestly I think he's the coolest. You should leave a comment with who you think is cooler out of these two. But first what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw in the spot where I want the eye to be. That needs to be relatively out from the neck a little bit. Pretty much it's a trapezoid. We don't want to make the eye too big. That looks good. Then from there it seems like we got a whole bunch of lines coming around the face. Just as details. Got this spot marked off. And on Zekrom, you definitely want to make sure that your lines are very direct and angled. There's only going to be a few curved lines every once in a while. It seems as though we got this horn that comes up on the front of Zekrom's face, which is actually quite sharp. Then from there, move back a little bit, and we've got another bulge coming up. And coming back off of the horn right there, we have what seems to be the rest of his head, trailing back into a point. Okay, that's starting to look a lot better. I'm going to add in Zekrom's eye. He's going to sort of be looking back at Reshiram. Coming down off the eye is a split here. Going to be completely black. His neck needs to stay relatively thin all the way to his body. Here where this V is, sort of marks where the other side of his head begins. As you can see, that brings up this line going across his face here. His neck goes down to about this point, and then stops, and cuts into this diamond here. If it is a diamond, I'm not quite sure what kind of shape that is. Then from there it sort of builds up to this breastplate form. And I really need to move his neck back a little bit more. See, that must be the problem. So I was moving the neck out forward when really I should have been moving it backwards, like that. So we gotta reposition everything. Then from there, come up with this part here that has a hexagon cut into it, so it seems. It's kind of on both sides. Just you can't see it as well. Then coming up out of that is the full hexagon shape, which I guess starts the joint of the wings. right there. Then here on Zekrom's neck, a little bit more detail. I've actually got a line that goes all the way behind his neck. But in the middle of that line, I guess they decided that they needed something going up here. So that goes up to about that point, stops and comes back down. Since I've got Zekrom's arm shaped a little bit differently in this picture, gotta change a few things here. I'm working on the arms here. Sort of comes down like this, right off of those black spots here. And then at the point where it actually starts the forearm, got this angle coming out here. Just sort of rises over like that and curves right into the arm or the hand. And then at the tip here, got 3 spikes coming out. Then even inside of that, you've got this sort of circle shape. It's just rounded a little bit. And inside of that we have his claws here. Just 3 claws. We're gonna connect the wing parts here. Got a few small details here. Then on the arm, got this line that comes out like this, back up, and back into the body, where it seems. And that first hexagon we drew in, we're gonna draw in another one. That's gonna be for the wing behind his back. Now the wing is very, very large. In the drawing I have here, it might sort of extend over the page a little bit. Even though it looks like a wing, it does not look like it is composed out of feathers at all. So, gotta keep our lines once again very angular, very straight. And then on the front of the wing here, heading back towards his head, we have this spike detail. Seems like it's cut right into the wing itself. Now some of you may be wondering why I've shortened it so much. Well, I didn't really shorten it. What I'm doing is I'm changing the angle at which the wing is in relation to the body. That way it doesn't take up so much room, but it also makes the drawing look a little bit different. And by doing that, we're going to show this edge here. It sort of extends down to the part that's holding it up. Then down here where the wing actually connects to this part, got another detail line that just sort of looks like it hooks in. And the other wing on the other side pretty much looks the same, except we don't have to worry about it too much because it's smaller. Alright, move back down to the hands here. And for this one, we're just sort of going to draw it in like this. Bring it down across here. We're going to connect those like we did for the other one. Here the spike seems like it's cut off a little bit. Got in these 2 lines here as if that's where his hand is behind that. Now going back to the body here, I'm going to finish up this chest plate here. Coming from there, we've got these 2 lines coming down to go into the next part of the body. And then behind that, you got the rest of the body coming down, just like that. Coming down to the knees here, they're sort of separated. You can tell where the knees begin because of these black square hexagon shaped things. I don't know what the exactly shape they are, but it's just a repeating shape that goes along Zekrom. And then from there, legs come back down around. Actually, they're bent backwards like this. And then the other foot comes back around like this. Kinda need to make sure that that's smaller, since it is in the distance more. And then somewhere back behind Zekrom is going to be his gigantic drill-looking tail. I'm gonna finish up the details on the feet here. Now I'm gonna start on Reshiram. By the looks of these two Pokemon, I'm pretty sure that they don't like each other whatsoever. So they're sort of going to be competing for the viewer's attention in this picture, as usual. I'm going to start off with Reshiram's eyes. Now, Reshiram is a more natural looking character than Zekrom is, not as robotic looking. So the lines are going to flow a little bit better in this picture. Coming off right from the eye, we've got this line going down here to what seems to be the nose. Sort of straight like that. Then from there, coming right up, we have the hair that seems to go back behind Reshiram. Consists of two parts. First off, it's like this feather cowlick at the top of its head. And then behind that, seems like it's got this flowing ribbons of hair. We're going to continue working on Reshiram's face. Gonna come down right around like that. The eye needs a little bit more work to make it look like Reshiram. It's very curved. Then in the corner here, sort of darkened the outline a bit. Reshiram seems to be frowning in this picture, because it's angry. From Reshiram's face, it seems like it sort of spikes out a bit, following just like this. I do need to back up the ribbons of hair a little bit. We sort of got one final spike coming back like that. And then another one just going off behind the hair. Kinda see Reshiram's head behind that. Now we're gonna start working on Reshiram's neck. Reshiram's neck is really, really thin, much thinner than Zekrom's neck. Goes down like this for a bit. Make sure we're keeping it very thin. And then it reaches a point where it's covered up by two bands, two silver bands, I guess. From there, hair just sort of puffs out of it a bit. Since Zekrom was drawn first, he got to take up a majority of the space to the right, but I'm gonna have Reshiram sort of fighting for the attention of the viewer, you guys. So I'm gonna sort of have it overlapping Zekrom in a few places. Possibly over the leg, and maybe even a wing overlapping this spike back here. I don't know, it just depends. I'm gonna draw Reshiram's body coming around like this, just curving off. Coming off of the hairline here, seems like this line goes in between those bands. Comes back about to the center, or a little higher than the center of the body. And more feathers slash fur seems to come above that. They're probably feathers, but so what? And it goes back on both sides like this. And I feel as though I should make the neck longer still. So I'm going to move everything down a bit. Yeah, I know, lots of erasing, but it's going to be worth it. And coming up just below the second band here, it's going to be the start of the arm slash wing that Reshiram has. Reshiram, that sounded weird. We're sort of going to have it pull its wing forward a bit more. Sort of trying to get into the picture a little bit more. Reshiram's wings are very thin. That should be fairly easy to incorporate. And they keep growing broader as it goes back up. And back here we're going to have Reshiram's feathers on the wings coming back out. And they're going to overlap Zekrom only a little bit. We don't want to totally overrule him. The same with Reshiram's wing as we did for Zekrom. It's sort of being pushed off to the side a little bit, to the front. And then on that same wing is where we find Reshiram's hands. Stuck way up on its wing. It's got 3 main claws, and then a 4th one, sort of separate. Connect that. Just above the eye, so sort of give Reshiram a little bit more of the Reshiram look. You've got this lines here. That makes it look a whole lot better. Or just more like the character, I suppose. And right behind that, we got the body coming back down around here. Real quickly, we're going to add in the other wing. It's going to be right back here. Wing hand. We got this sort of ring coming around on the top here, and then you see Reshiram's claws for the hand coming around, which looks very, very odd to me, but it's Pokemon logic. What are you gonna do about it? I'll finish up the outline for the billowing hair back here. That's gonna continue going back even into Zekrom's territory back here. Then we sort of need to also extend Reshiram's body back down. The reason I pause every time I'm about to say one of their names is because I get sort of confused because their names are so similar. So, bear with me. Here we go, we're gonna start the legs about here. Both sides. This one's gonna be really big in relation to the other one. And it's gonna have these feathers coming out from the top. We're sort of gonna have it covering part of the tail back there, and at the same time it's like also pushing the feathers back a bit. And Reshiram's legs sort of looks like Zekrom's, only difference being that it's not as detailed at the kneecap, since, well, it doesn't really have a kneecap, its legs inverted more than anything. It's gonna come down just like this, bring it back up. It's like one of the only detail lines. I'm gonna have Reshiram's feet kinda overlapping Zekrom's. And then for Reshiram's toes, we got 3 claws pretty much, about the same size. And then coming out on the front of Reshiram's body is this tuft of fur for no apparent reason. I just don't get it. It looks really weird. You've got 3 splits in it, sort of like feathers again. Got a line coming up here to sort of separate it. So now that I've gotten them drawn, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take an ultra fine point Sharpie. I'm going to outline all of the lines I want to keep on my characters. It's going to clean up the drawing a lot, and it just makes it look that much better. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to erase all the underlined pencil lines. Whenever you're doing this, make sure you're careful to watch what you're erasing, because I don't know if you guys do, but I have a tendency to miss some places to outline, so I have to go back. See, there it is, right there. So I have to go back and re-outline it, technically. So just watch for that. But as you can see, the drawing is cleaning up very nicely. This step could take a while. So first things first on these characters, so I'm going to start out with their eyes, because those are probably going to be the simplest things to color in. We're just going to start out with some light colors first. Red for Zekrom's eyes, and blue for Reshiram. And technically it's only just one eye, because you only see them from one side. Then back here, there's a little bit of blue on the tip of Zekrom's head. We're sort of going to work on their eyes a bit more to get some shading into it. And a lot of white spots on Reshiram's eye. Need to put a line back here. That looks better. Zekrom's eye is just completely red on the outside. His inner eye is white. This looks really creepy. Back here it's just simple blue. Now that we've got those basic colors done, I'm going to start off by just putting a light color of gray for all of the colors on Zekrom in preparation for the shading. We don't have to do anything really to Reshiram, because the shading is mostly going to be white and a little bit of gray. So that's going to be our base coat color there. Coat everything on Zekrom with a light gray. Okay, so the next step we're going to do is we're actually going to start some real shading on these characters. First, I've really got to decide where my lighting source is going to be. I'm going to say it's in front of Reshiram, that way we have more whites on Reshiram's face and more darks on Zekrom's face. Sort of adds to the contrast, so that means all my shadows are going to be to this direction on Zekrom. I'm going to start off with a slightly darker gray. This one's sort of a coolish gray. Just basically going to do some shading away from the light. And then on Reshiram, we're basically going to do the same thing we did for Zekrom, except the shading's not going to be as harsh. We're going to go with a very light gray to start off with. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep moving through these shades of color, going darker and darker on Zekrom and Reshiram. More dark on Zekrom though, in order to get the shadows that I'm looking for. So, to finish up Zekrom and Reshiram, all I did was I added a little bit more black into their characters. And just for Reshiram, there's obviously not very many places where I added that, but for Zekrom, that just helped to darken him up a lot. Makes him look a little bit more sinister. Makes the contrast greater. Alright, now for both of these characters, some things I've noticed is that they have some interesting colored highlights on them. For Zekrom, he's got several blue highlights on him, the shading. Sort of makes his character look a little bit cooler in color. Plus it's just a nice touch. So we're going to try and make all of his highlights appear to be blue. And then on Reshiram, it's sort of different. Reshiram has some reddish pink highlights here and there. Those can be added in just about wherever you see fit. Remember, we don't want to overpower this drawing with these different colors. Just want to throw them in certain points. Alright, and the last thing I'm going to do to this drawing is that I'm going to add somewhat of a background with a few colors to accentuate the characters. One thing that's not really obvious about their characters is the type of these characters. Zekrom is actually an electricity type, with blue electricity, I guess, as it seems. And Reshiram is a fire type. And I have a feeling if this picture were to continue on, as if it were an animation, there'd be a huge explosion because of the power overflowing of these characters. And their anger. And I'm going to have the shadow of these characters not actually around them, but it's going to be emanating away from them, as if they are casting light of their own. And here is my finished drawing of Zekrom and Reshiram. Hope you guys like this drawing. This was one of the most interesting drawings I've drawn in a while. It was sort of fun. Zekrom is a challenge for those of you who would like a challenge in drawing, and Reshiram is sort of easy to draw, more of a practice character, I would suppose, but still good practice. And both of them together in this drawing look like they're really angry at each other and they're about to explode. Anyways, I hope you guys like this drawing. You should subscribe if you like this drawing, because I plan on uploading more drawings of video game characters in the future to come. I'm not sure when I'm going to start up again, as this is like the last drawing for set 7. And if you want to send me a request, just go to my channel, type in a request in that request modulator module thing, and I will probably, maybe, possibly make it into the tutorial. Just depends on how I'm feeling. So, thank you guys for watching this video, and until next time, keep on drawing.